Greetings and welcome to the MU2605 screencast for class on Friday, March 27th. I'll be hitting some of the highlights from Chapter 6 on instructional design, and I have an optional mini project for you at the end of the little presentation here. So let's get started. First, a few announcements. You know that the Early Career Chats reflection is due on Thursday, March 26th. I sent out a message today, which is actually Thursday, the 26th, and hopefully you're able to get that project in on time. You have the video demo on the benefits of music education, which is due on April 16th. I encourage you to begin your plans for construction of your video. What would be some of the content? What are some of the highlights? What's your format? What's the kind of scene that you're going to set in your video and that kind of thing? You can see the details in Canvas. Your music teacher observation is due on April 23rd. Again, please look at our online page for MU2605 for details. You can see the snapshot, which explains how to proceed with this project if you were not able to actually observe a music teacher live. You'll watch a video. Our final exam is going to take place asynchronously, meaning that we won't meet together on May 8th. It's scheduled for May 8th, and this will be an open book exam through Canvas. The exam will open on Wednesday, May 6th at 9 a.m., and it will close on Friday the 8th at 11 a.m. So you have a couple of days to complete the exam, and again, open book. And so good luck, enjoy, and let's get started on Chapter 6. First, some structural kinds of considerations. One is that our philosophy will largely determine the structure of our classroom. And with that, the authors have multiple times referred to some of our taken for granted beliefs, and because we have some of those beliefs that might be latent or things that are kind of beneath the surface, it's important that we continually re-examine our philosophy. Curriculum is going to consider outcomes or learning experiences, also methods, materials, and tools, the skills, knowledge, and instructional methods that we implement, and some perspectives on curriculum theory. There are four of these. One would be the body of knowledge perspective, where we have a content focus, thinking about, okay, what is it precisely that we want our students to learn? Another would be a product-based focus, which is often embraced in music programs, where we consider what are the student outcomes musically and otherwise, and this can result in more of a uniform or standardized type of curriculum. A third is a process perspective, which accounts for interactions, might have some room for experimentation. And if you read between the lines, the authors are going to certainly encourage this kind of curricular perspective. And then finally, a praxis-based perspective, which involves informed action, and planning, delivery, and evaluation would be essential parts of that process. So many of us are going to employ curriculum through multiple perspectives, and there's nothing wrong with that. It would be a good idea to consider each of these as we design instruction for our students. One curriculum model will consist of these four primary components. You can see objectives, sequence, activities, and evaluation. This is a pretty common kind of structure for curriculum instruction and also, or curriculum development. But on a more micro level, we consider these components as we plan our lessons. Note that many states are adopting standards-based approaches to curriculum. The state of Minnesota has its own state standards, and those are in a revision process. The revisions have been performed, and they're actually being approved right as we speak, really. In 2014, the National Coalition for Core Art Standards, or NCUS, produced and revised national standards for music. We had previous standards that came about, I want to say in 1992, but the new standards in 2014 are vastly different. So if you're curious about these, you can do a quick Google search for core music standards, and you would find details on that in the NAFME page. So the authors note some important assumptions. Earlier, I mentioned some of the what might be latent assumptions that tend to inform our philosophy and also influence the ways that we design and deliver curriculum. But they gave a nice specific illustrative example with two musical representations of the song Mary Had a Little Lamb. You can see the first one, which might be the way that the song is presented in a beginning method book for instrumentalists. Well, they made an important point that what if a student were to play it as in the second example? And I'm actually going to perform this for you on the alto recorder, so enjoy my wonderful alto recorder playing. So what is the assumption? Well, one assumption could be that if a student played it in the second way, or the way that I just performed it on the alto recorder, that it's incorrect because I didn't exactly follow the rhythms that were a little bit more, well, rigid in nature, just the straight kind of quarter notes. But if you have a student who performs this, the authors would suggest that maybe you accept that. And in fact, you could even perhaps encourage it or use it as a model. This could be an opportunity for us to say, well, you know what? I like the way that Sarah played that particular rhythm. Let's learn it by ear. And we know that learning melodies by ear can be a valuable learning experience. Also, a question for consideration: how do secondary ensembles function as an expert to amateur kind of model? And this is definitely an evolutionary process, but if you think about it, a lot of what we do in music can be kind of a top-down. But the authors would encourage us to think of ways that are more well, when we talk about constructivism here in a moment, ways that would be more than unidirectional. It's not just a kind of the deliverer of this is the way to perform, but we can actually collaborate with our students and gather students' ideas, and stimulate their own critical thinking. Okay, so on the constructivist approach, these are some of the foundations there. One is that knowledge would be constructive actively and based upon past experience. In other words, we're building or constructing knowledge based upon what is known or what has been experienced. Another is that meaning is developed and constructed, it's not transmitted. I mentioned a moment ago that teaching and learning should not be unidirectional. It shouldn't be just about transmitting knowledge and information, etc., to students. It should be something that's multi-directional and that's more interactive in nature. And with that, it offers opportunities for collaboration, not only between us and our students, but among students as well. Learners would be involved in self-assessment, and research shows that self-assessment, but also peer assessment, can be great learning opportunities for students. And in the constructivist approach or theory, we would involve flexible outcomes in teaching and learning processes. Barrett suggests that we consider students' lived experiences when designing instruction, noting that gaps can exist between school music and music outside school. So with that, if we consider, okay, what are the ways that students interact with music, not only in school but outside of school, and if we do consider that, it can help to stimulate a richer school music environment. Okay, a quick quote on vernacular music. Teaching popular or vernacular music in the same manner as one would teach traditional ensemble repertoire with the same performance protocols and expectations not only misses the mark of allowing students to have experiences with their music in school, but it is often insulting to the students' actual musical experiences with this content. So we want to ask ourselves, what are some of the ways that popular and vernacular music is typically learned? Well, for example, a lot of things are learned by ear. Rehearsal procedures might be quite different, and you're going to learn more about this in some of your methods classes, and we'll address it more discreetly when you take MU2606, Special and Adaptive Methods. Okay, for for giggles, thought it would be fun to listen to what is maybe a typical elementary ensemble. They're going to play a vernacular music selection on mallet percussion instruments, and this is Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train. Enjoy. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to pause it right there, and I encourage you to go ahead and visit that link and watch the rest of the video. It's they actually go into some nice solo section, and you hear the kids performing individual solos. You can get the live link from this file, which will be in PDF format in our online course page. Okay, some final thoughts. We're going to go with Estelle Jorgensen, who outlines the stages of curricular development, and this begins with general objectives and proceeds through translation to instruction. We can think of this in terms of the big picture in which we engage in music teacher preparation, we're getting our professional training, and we go through all of these various processes through which we ultimately design curriculum and instructional experiences for students, and then we actually deliver the instruction, and we might consider changes as necessary so that we make the appropriate kinds of revisions, and that flexibility again would be a part of that process. So go ahead and take a look at the other considerations involved with the different stages of development. You can find this in your textbook as well. Okay, so a few, or one question and one, again, optional mini project. The question would be, how might you reconstruct the ways that music is commonly taught? We're going to be encouraging you to continually think forward in the ways that teaching and learning takes place in music programs. And then a mini project, which again, I say it's optional. I'm trying to consider what are some of the ways that we can interact. And I've never Snapchatted before. I just downloaded the app today, but I'm encouraging you to please send me a Snapchat. My username is DC Edmond. And just say, hi, Dr. Edmond, and tell me one thing that you learned about Chapter 6. If you don't Snapchat, don't worry about this. If you don't feel comfortable Snapchatting under these circumstances, don't worry about this. It's not for a grade at all. I just would love to hear from you and thought that this might be an interesting way. If it completely falls on its face and this is not appropriate, then I will have learned a lesson. But otherwise, if you feel comfortable doing it, go ahead and send me a quick Snapchat. Again, I would love to see you and to hear from you. Okay, so that's what I have to share with you. I hope you have a happy weekend. Feel free to visit the Q&A document through our online page in Canvas. You can always connect with me via email. Good luck, be safe, be well, and I'll continue to look forward to interacting with you in MU2605 online. Take care.